Looking to pick up your very own custom sleeves? Well, look no further. Go to yourplaymat.com where you can choose to have your very own image on the back of sleeves, or you can choose from their amazing range of pre-designed artwork ready and waiting for you. Get them shipped directly to your door and use the affiliate link and discount code down below to get 10% off. What are you waiting for? Go and grab your custom sleeves from yourplaymat.com. Good evening, YouTube. Dal here from Zephyr War Games, and today we are bringing back Deck Doctor. That's right, this is the series where you guys at home send in your lists, whether it be through our Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, any kind of means like that, and then you ask us for a bit of help. You ask us to critique your deck, you ask us to look at other options for the deck, and then we kind of put our own little spin on it. Today I have two deck lists for you, so without further ado, I'm going to dive straight into the first one, and the first one is called We Are Crystal Gems. Now I actually really like the name of this one, so good choice on that one. And this one was submitted by Carl Schwarzer. Apologies if I butcher your second name. He says he's only recently gotten into the TCG, and this deck can pretty much only go second at current. So I can definitely tell that's a very interesting choice straight away, just by only going second, in the sense that you've got stuff like Red Reboot, Magical Madbreaker, Reasoning, Card Destructions, Twin Twisters, Drag Down to the Grave, stuff like that. So it's all to get hand knowledge. It's all to kind of deal with your opponent's back row. Very, very nice. So we'll go through the list straight away. I'm not a massive Gem Knight player, so apologies if I don't understand some of these texts, but straight away we're going with triple Gem Knight Obsidian, triple Gem Knight Lazuli, triple Gem Knight Lapis, double Gem Knight Sapphire, double Tourmaline, triple Armadillo, so obviously this is one of the core cards, triple Crystal Rose, triple Rescue Rabbit, interesting, triple Predaplant, Scorpio, and one Cobra to get into the Gem Knight Fusion and Super Poly, two Gem Knight Fusions, one Super Poly, double Unexpected Die, triple Twin Twisters, double Drag Down, one Card Destruction, one Reasoning, one Magical Midbreaker Field, and one Red Reboot. Then into the extra deck, we do have one Lady Brilliant Diamond, one Master Diamond, one Seraphonite, two Lady Lapis Lazuli, one Prismora, one Zyconia, one Amphiest, one Chimera Flesia, one Mud Dragon, double Quartz, one Link Spider, one Curious, and then one Verte Anaconda. So again, very, very interesting list. There's a lot that I would change in sense of only focusing to go second, because what I can kind of see here is, yes, you've got the back row hate, which is great with the Twin Twisters. I'm assuming stuff like Drag Down and Card Destruction is to try and rip out or find that Nibiru that will stop you comboing off, or any particular hand traps that they might have. The biggest risk for Card Destruction is giving your opponent a better hand than they already had. But it works really, really well against like a Drytron deck that has built up their hand of Heralds of Orange Lights. So that can be very, very helpful. Reason is a free summon. Really, really like that. Now, with Magical Midbreaker, purely because this one has to activate this card at the start of main phase 1 or 2. So if you don't draw it and don't open it, you're not going to be able to activate it. So for something like this, and trying to keep within budget, I know cards like this are... I think this one's actually gone up in price. So let me just reset all of this. So the first one that I would suggest, and it's one that I always suggest for like Rogue going second, is Mystic Mine. Now the reason that I would suggest this card is purely for the fact that as long as you can bait out your opponent's negates or anything like that, you slap them with a Mystic Mine. It gives you time to build up your hand advantage. You're already playing Twin Twisters, so if you want to get rid of it, you can do whenever you're ready. If not, you're still also locking your opponent down. So if they have multiple monsters, it also means that you've got the ability to get through get through your Scorpio play without getting hand trapped, and kind of go from there. Also, considering you're going second, you might want to consider a Nibiru if you have access to these cards. If you don't, then don't worry. But Nibiru, I would say, is second to Mystic Mine. This would be the first card that I would go for. And I would easily swap it in for a Magical Midbreaker. And then I'd probably take out the Drag Downs purely for more Mystic Mines. Because once you've successfully activated a Mystic Mine, they're not going to be able to hand trap you. They're not going to be able to Nibiru you. Anything like that until you put more monsters in your opponent on the board. And if I remember correctly, Gem Knights aren't really a swarm deck in the sense that they build like a huge board of 5-6 monsters. They're more of a, we can go through 1s or 2s or 3s and kind of loop them around and get where they need to go. Another card that I would consider, now I know that Gem Knights have the FTK and stuff like that, so if you're trying to preserve the FTK, then this one won't be ideal for you, but Dark Ruler is kind of good to just shut off your opponent's entire board. That being said, if you are trying to maintain the FTK, then Droplets, but I highly doubt you're going to have Droplets, which is why I then fall back on stuff like Mystic Mine, purely because you, like, if you look at stuff like Tri-Zoo, for example, right? Tri-Zoo are the main meta deck. If you're going to be taking this against meta, or depending on what your local environment's like, you take this to your opponent, you're going to be facing up against them. The chances are that Tri-Zoo, they've only got one out to this, and their one out is going to be the double Dragon Lords. Because if they don't use that, the second you activate Mystic Mine, you resolve, they activate Resolve or Revolve. That then gives them Shurag. Now, Shurag won't be able to activate its effect to banish because it will be on the new chain, so Mystic Mine would have already been active and then stops your opponent activating their effects. So they've only got one way to out this. So if you get rid of the double Dragon Lords, whether it be by having 2 Mystic Mines, you activate a Mystic Mine and then activate a second, locks them out completely. If you were to put in something like a Kaiju, if you were to put in something like a Magical Midbreaker that can still work, because if you activate that, you'll lock your opponent down, but I think Mystic Mine will be a better option to that. It also means that your Rescue Rabbit is going to be 100% guaranteed to resolve, because you'll always have one monster, they're going to have multiples. So it really does come down to, if you want this deck to focus on going second, then I would highly advise playing something along the Mystic Mine. I think that is your best option, just to pretty much shut your opponent down, and then give yourself time to gain resource, because as far as I'm concerned, Tri-Zoo cannot out Mystic Mine. Drytron can't out Mystic Mine because, yes, they can start tributing their stuff on the board, but they need to use monster effects in the graveyard. So if they can't activate those monster effects in the graveyard, they're not going to be able to tribute. So what that allows you to do as a Gem Knight player is it allows you to build up your hand advantage, it allows you to build up your board. Now, someone told me the secret rare version of the Mystic Mines were going for like 15 quid, and that the super rares are going for like 10. If you can get them cheaper than that, then definitely worth picking up. This, to me, for any go second deck that can win a game with less monsters on board, is a hands down a winner. And then what you kind of want to do is you want to use your one monster that you have on the board to start picking apart your opponent's board. And then once you leave them on 2 monsters and you on 1, that's when you get rid of your own Mystic Mine, or you sit there until you've built up enough position to then deal with that. Another card that I would consider bumping up would be your Super Poly, purely because it's one of those cards that you activate, your opponent cannot respond. Again, when you look at stuff like Tri-Zoo, Tri-Zoo are ending on double Dragon Lords plus Appaloosa. So a Super Poly into a Mud Dragon is completely doable, because one of them is a Beast Warrior, one of them is a Fairy, and that gets rid of, straight away, a bounce and a negate. Yes, it does leave your opponent with the ability to activate Revolve, but then by activating that, they've then got to choose to get rid of the Mud Dragon, because you've already put them in a bit of position by getting rid of their 2 biggest negates on the board. So, again, if you're focusing on going second, definitely bump up the Super Polys, because think of it this way, right? Against Tri-Zoo, if you open up a Mystic Mine and one way to bait out the double Dragon Lords, I mean, there's nothing wrong with going normal Summon Rabbit, try to do your effects, try to build up your board. Your opponent interrupts you with a Shurag or the double Dragon Lords. Now, ideally, you want them to interrupt you with the double Dragon Lords, because then you go, right, cool, fool for you, activate Mystic Mine. They are stuck. You're then able to build up your entire board, build up your entire hand presence, and then go off. So, definitely something I would highly advise. Extra, I think, looks pretty tight and solid. You obviously got your Verte Anaconda to get access to your Super Poly a little bit earlier on. Obviously, you've got all of the Gem Knights available to you, and sadly, only the one Master Diamond, because it is only at 1. So, it's definitely got a lot of nice interaction, but these are the 4 cards that I would recommend for you. Obviously, different in value of cost, but then it also comes down to playing stuff like Gamma. But ultimately, I think you've got your back row covered with Red Reboot and Twin Twisters, and then you've got everything else kind of covered once you put Mystic Mine in, because the biggest issue right now facing a go second deck is they pretty much go, here's my entire board, try and break it. I've got 4 monster negates, I've got 2 omni negates, whatever. So being able to hit them with a Mystic Mine completely wrecks them. So yeah, there you go. Nice, short, sweet, simple, and saved for you on that one. Any questions, put them in the comments down below. I'll be more than happy to answer them for you. Now moving on to our second and final one. Now this one, of course, is always going to be good when it comes across my desk. Not that one. When it comes across my desk, because it is, of course, Dark Magician. So this was sent in by Kedge. Now, Kedge, you've got a very interesting build on this one, in the sense that there is a lot of interesting kind of interactions. Ignore the side deck. That is not him. That's just me. So, triple Dark Magician, good start. 1 Red Eyes Black Dragon, double Apprentice, 1 Dark Magician Girl, triple Magician's Rod, triple Souls, double Droll Lockbird, good. 1 Tactics, 1 Terraforming, 1 Dark Magic Attack, 1 Red Eyes Fusion, 1 Magical Eyes Fusion, double Dark Magical Circle, ooh. 1 Secrets of Dark Magic, triple Soul Servant, 1 Call by the Grave, double Eternal Soul, double Forbidden Droplets, 1 Super Poly, 1 Secret Village, 1 Mystic Mine, double Ice Dragon Prison, double Torrential Tribute, and double Summon Limit. So, there's a couple of really cool cards in here that I'm quite happy with. Straight away, I still feel that there is a bit of a... I'm not a fan of Talents. That's just my personal opinion right now. I feel that Talents is an overrated card that relies on your opponent to do something. So, it really depends on the angle you want to take this deck. I like the idea of setting a Super Poly and passing, but you've got a lot of conflicting cards in here. And what I mean by that is Talents is predominantly a go second card. Dark Magic Attack is a dead card going first. Mystic Mine is a dead card going first. Secret Village is kind of good going first, but it really depends on what you're facing in the matchup. Because if you look at Trizu, they don't care a lot about their spells. Yes, it really hurts Drytron, so that's good for them. Now you've got access to Droplets. My only concern with Droplets is there's very few cards in a Dark Magician deck that you actually want to discard. Like, yes, if you open up multiple rods, if you open up Dark Magicians or anything like that, you don't mind sending them to the graveyard. But I also feel that you're kind of betting that you get dead cards to drop this. Now, the only reason that you would play Droplets over Dark Ruler no more is for the pure fact that you might want to go Verte, Dragoon, pop 2, and deal the damage there. But the way I see it, with this built-up kind of back row that you've got going for you, Dark Ruler might actually be better. I'm going to clear out this side deck for you as well. Because with Dark Ruler, what you can do is you can drop the Dark Ruler on them, but, well, I say that. You can drop the Dark Ruler on them and then continue to make your plays, still use Dragoon to pop the monsters and get rid of them, but also have the ability to just hold your board there. So all that's really going to allow you to do is you go 2 monsters, get into Verte, go into Dragoon, pop the 2 monsters that are causing you issues, and off you go. That being said, I think Mystic Mine will do the job. Like I said in the previous profile, Mystic Mine would do the job better for you as long as you can bait out the effect. So even if you were to combo and go Dark Ruler no more, Mystic Mine, that gives Dark Magician the one thing that they really lack is the ability to maintain advantage. What that also allows you to do is that also allows you to sit back on your traps a little bit more, because you can hold back the monsters that you don't really need. You can also swap out your talents for something like a Spellbook package, because then what that allows you to do is, let's say you Mystic Mine your opponent and they've got 3 monsters. You can normal summon your Rod. Rod gets you the Circle or the Eternal Soul, or even the Soul Servant, depending on what you want to go for. Then you activate the Spellbook, get rid of the Rod to draw 2 new cards, and hopefully they're your traps or your Mystic Mines or anything like that. You then drop the Mystic Mine, lock your opponent out completely, set up your traps, and the only bad thing you've got is Torrential Tribute, in the sense that if your opponent summons something, activate Torrential Tribute, clear their board off, and as long as they can't come back, the Mystic Mine gets destroyed during the end phase, which then means during your turn, you are free to go off. Go absolutely mental, build your entire board, and that's where your Dragoon can come in to protect, or it's where you can start bringing back from the graveyard the recursion of stuff like Magician's Rod, and that's where you can ultimately OTK. One of my favourite techs right now is this card. Now, obviously, I do this a lot with my other decks as well. So, Soul Crossing alongside a Slifer. Doesn't need to max out on this, but I did this recently. It's entirely up to you if you choose to play these. And a True Name. Now, it's not ideal going second, but what I like about this combo is you use the True Name, and if you wanted to, you could put in a Raw Sphere mode as well. Because then ultimately what you're saying to your opponent, if I can spell, is you're saying, okay, I'm going to activate the true name after you stacked your deck, of course. And if they don't respond to that, you're going to get a Wrath Sphere mode and clear your opponent's board off. Or you get into a Slifer. Now, the issue is you need to hard draw the Soul Crossing. But what I like about this is you set the crossing. During your opponent's turn, you trigger the crossing, tribute 3 of your opponent's monsters, bring down a Slifer. Then, depending on what your hand is, you then have the ability of reducing your opponent's monsters by 2,000 attack. If every time they're special summoned. So they cannot normal summon, like, they normal summon a monster with 2,000 attack. Fine. But, with 2,000 attack and normal summon, they get destroyed as well. So, unless they're able to put a monster that is more than 2,000 attack on the board to then link into something that is more than 2,000 attack on the board, they're not going to be able to get past your Slifer, because Slifer's automatically just going to go, destroy, destroy, destroy. So, I think that's a very kind of cool interaction as well. Same can be said as well. I think Secret Village, I would arguably take out for a second Mystic Mine. If not a third Mystic Mine. Super Poly's good in this deck as well. But I do also feel that it has a bit of a drawback unless you're playing a specific matchup or a specific mirror. Purely for the fact that unless they're playing Dragoon, you're going to struggle to get into it. Now, I can see from your extra deck, when you're rocking Invoked and Eldritch, I'm assuming that your matchups are probably Shadow's, Invoked, and the odd Golden Lord or Eldritch matchups here and there. So, Eldritch have a huge amount of control. And that's where I would probably take out stuff like Torrentials for Twin Twisters. I like the Ice Dragon Prison, but again, it's one of the ones that you have to go first to resolve to go off. I think Summer Limit can be more of a hindrance to you than a help sometimes. But again, it really depends on your playstyle and who you're facing. It also depends on your budget as to what you go for. But I would arguably look at putting Mystic Mine up more if you're going second. If you're not choosing to go second, then I would take out Mystic Mine and Talents and use them as a side-in option. By taking out the Mystic Mine, that's probably where you could arguably take out the Secret Village and the Terraforming, and I would take out the Dark Magic Attack, because ultimately they're not going to be great for you going first. Now, if you're going first like this, I would probably put in more traps. That's where you could arguably put in the Spellbook engine, anything like that to give you a bit more draw power. If you say to me, no, I only want to go second, that's why I'm playing stuff like Secret Village, Terraforming, Talents, and Mystic Mine, then that's where I'd arguably say take out something like Torrential. Mainly only to the side. I'm not saying take out completely. I think Summer Limit is very weak going second. Purely because by the time you flip the Summer Limit, they would have already built their board. So unless you've got something that is going to break the board for them, you're not going to be able to resolve that a lot. So something like a Dark Ruler into a ball clear, fine. Something as a droplet, clear off your opponent's board with Dragoon. But by the time you've cleared off your opponent's board with a Dragoon, you should be winning from that point. Because going second, activate Dragoon's effect twice, you should be getting at least 4,500 damage. Then you attack with Dragoon for 3,000 and then Verte for 500. Not to mention if Dragoon has been summoned and negates anything because your opponent is foolish enough, that is then going to give you an additional 1,000 attack, which means you don't have to burn them for as much. So there's a lot to consider. Obviously, the draw a lot bird I get is for the most relevant matchups right now. It's probably one of the best hand traps for those particular matchups. And you can kind of go from there. Anyway, I will return it as it was. And you can, by all means, listen to the advice of Gunyu or just chuck it in the trash. It's entirely up to you. But that would be what I advise Kedge. That's kind of what I would go for. The extra deck's got a lot of space in it, so you can play around with that as much as you want. And I just feel that you've got one Super Poly in there. I know it comes off the back of Verte, but you've got one Super Poly in there. Whereas you could be putting 3 Super Polys in there and get to them consistently. Because what you don't want to be done is locked under Winder and not be able to get to a Super Poly because you need to go into 2 summons, into Verte, into Dragoon, because that's just not going to happen. So there's a lot to consider, but I really, really like the deck. I think it's a different angle on the deck as well. I just feel that there are areas of improvement depending on whether you want to be focusing on going second or focusing on going second. Sorry, focusing on going second and going second? Focusing on going second or focusing on going first. If you're going second in this day and age, you really need to be able to clear opponent's board off without issue, make a Dragoon, and then be able to sit on a defensive option that route. If you're going first, you need to be able to set up enough control that you can slow your opponent down and stop them so that in your next turn, you're able to kind of OTK. Because with the deck running around right now, if you don't finish your opponent off, they will kill you the next turn. I give it a guarantee. Like Trizu, definitely easy OTK potential. And then Drytron, easy OTK potential. So you've got to be very careful going second as well, because you need to make sure that you can beat cards like the Herald of Ultimateness that is going to be sitting on multiple Omni Negates and stuff like that. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. For everyone that was interested in Dark Magicians and Gem Knights, I hope you found this return of Deck Doctor helpful. I know I've kind of gone on for about 10 minutes on each profile. I'm going to try and keep each episode to about 20 minutes, if not try and claw them back down to about 5 minutes of deck list. But I do just kind of want to provide as much help and support as I possibly can for any deck lists. If you do have any deck lists that you want me to have a look at or you want me to talk about, then by all means send them in to us via our Facebook, our Instagram, or of course via a YouTube comment down below. As absolutely always, guys, stay safe and of course, happy dueling. Looking to pick up your very own custom sleeves? Well, look no further. Go to yourplaymat.com, where you can choose to have your very own image on the back of sleeves, or you can choose from their amazing range of pre-designed artwork ready and waiting for you. Get them shipped directly to your door and use the affiliate link and discount code down below to get 10% off. What are you waiting for? Go and grab your custom sleeves from yourplaymat.com.